later. I'm gonna make a crock-pot macaroni and cheese really quickly. I already have the taco soup going. I have a 5-page paper due. So this was just something to easily like put together for the kids. So I have my noodles that I boiled on top of the stove. You have to boil the noodles like you would for regular macaroni. The difference between your regular macaroni and your crock pot macaroni is that the crock pot macaroni is a lot cheesier. You can make it a lot cheesier. It's creamier, so it's more like a creamier based macaroni and cheese versus like a pie based macaroni and cheese. So that's what I like about it. I don't want to put too many noodles because if you watched the video earlier, you know that I ended up having to go with the crock pot that was only 2 quarts versus the one that was 4 quarts. So we only have a 2-quart crock pot currently. Here are the noodles. So now we need to add our cheese. I always add the cheese packet from a original like little simple Kraft macaroni and cheese. It could be the store brand, it could be the Kraft brand, but all you need from this is the cheese packet. I had to do a Walmart pickup, so they had to do substitutions for a lot of my stuff. So I'm like, So I ordered the Kraft, but I ended up with the Walmart brand, but you can use either one. I don't use the noodles, that's probably wasting a little bit, but I get rid of the noodles, throw those in the trash. So let's get our eggs. So I use 2 eggs. And you can use powdered mustard, or you can just use regular mustard that's in your cabinet. And for that little bit of a sneak attack, Southern style, I always add chives to, can you guys see that? I always add chives to my macaroni. So using the little packet here, this is something that my mom always does, and so I picked up on that and I added it. So this is just like bits and pieces of recipes that, you know, people around me make, like my grandmother or my mom or my sister, that I just kind of combine them and just make my own, and it seems to work out pretty good. So if you are new to macaroni, this is an easy way to kind of throw things together. Another thing too, if you want to introduce a different kind of cheese as well as cheddar, I always use sharp cheddar cheese, and I use mozzarella cheese. So now we're cooking with grease. Let's combine our ingredients. Okay, so one thing that I left out is that as the noodles were boiling, I went ahead and turned the crock pot on and put a stick of butter inside the crock pot to let that just kind of melt down, so that when you put your noodles in there, you just stir it and that butter is already melted for you. But usually I use a stick of butter. So I have my fork here, and we're gonna mix our ingredients. Okay, first things first, I have my eggs. I'm gonna crack those, put those there. My salt, you can always use a teaspoon that you just have in the drawer, but if you are an expert, if you squeeze your hand all the way together, put your salt there. This is round about a teaspoon in your hand, so I always just put it in that way. That was a trick from my grandmother. So if you don't have a teaspoon, you can use your hand. Now, pepper, you can't have too much of that, so just add that just kind of how you want to. Your cheese packet out of your mac and cheese, just add that in here as well. And your chives. This right here just makes it delicious. And these I don't technically measure. Like I said, you know, you can use a teaspoon of salt. Chives, pretty heavy with it. So that was my chives. And we put our pepper. So now we can mix. Now the one thing that we have not talked about is milk, because you do have to add milk, and because it is going in a crock pot, like I said, it's going to be creamier. So with the milk, what you want to do is you add milk until you see it at the kind of forming up at the top of your noodles. I hate when the mustard has like that water at the beginning, so shake it up before you use it. So we got a teaspoon of mustard here. So really, teaspoons all around. If you can remember that, you can make a decent macaroni. Okay, so here's our crock pot. Our noodles are already in. So we're gonna add in our cream base here. You want to make sure you get all that goodness out of that bowl. I'm going to use my plastic spoon here. Make sure we get all of that out. And remember, I have a stick of butter in here already, along with all the ingredients that I just mixed. The only thing that's missing is are my cheeses and my milk. So I'm gonna make sure that I stir this in really good to get the eggs where they need to be, to get that butter where it needs to be. And you're gonna have a nice, wholesome macaroni and cheese when this is over. And if you are new at macaroni and cheese, everybody will not even know that you are new, because this will taste delicious, because the crock pot has the tendency to do that. It just makes all of those things just kind of go in together. Now, remember what I said about the noodles. So I don't measure my milk. I probably should, but I don't. So I have went through the trial and error of using milk, and what I find is that if you put too much milk, then the macaroni is like a little bit too watery, and you don't want that. So I'm going in with my cheddar. You work your cheese in just like you did with the others. Dinner is served. We have our taco soup, a dollop of sour cream, our pumpkin chips, and our crock pot macaroni and cheese. Let's eat.